Well, this is going to go out on September 29th. We're so close to deer season. It's palpable. We can you can almost taste it. Temperatures have been a little warm, but that's what happens with October 1st openings. You never know what you're going to get. So be safe out there. Wear your safety harnesses as you go up into trees and tree stand hunting. Today's episode, you're going to get to hear ECO Canzeri talk about his responsibility in the Capital Region and Region 4, specifically Rensselaer County, and a little bit about Officer Canzeri. He was recognized by the Upper Hudson QDMA for his tireless effort in law enforcement and as an environmental conservation officer. In 2016, he received the Samuel S. Taylor Award for the apprehension of an armed subject. ECO Canzeri attends countless hunter ed classes and helps new sportsmen understand his role in conservation as well as their role in conservation. He patrols Rensselaer County, and he created the Facebook group Capital District Sportsmen. In just 9 months, the group has grown to over 2,400 members, and it's become a great resource to us. Earlier this week, he did a Q&A live stream, so I encourage you guys to go over and check that out. You can scroll through the comments below. I believe they answered a lot of the questions, or rewatch it and listen to the questions that come up. And again, it's the work that he's doing is great for us, and support him. Say hi to him. That's kind of, I think, the biggest message is he wanted the people to know that we don't have to be afraid of the ECOs. Just say hi, call them over, show them what you're doing, and it seems like a great resource, and it was a great time meeting with him and having him on the show. He's doing great things for the county, and if you have a question, call him. I'll put his contact information in the show notes, so if you need to reach him, absolutely call him. If you have any questions or you're unsure of something, reach out. All right, enjoy the show. Welcome to the 518 Woods and Water podcast, where each week we will have interesting conversations about all things woods and water. Welcome back to 518 Woods and Water. Brian Cole and myself are here with a special guest from Region 4, NCON Officer, ECO, Brian Canzeri.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So we're coming into hunting season. We'll be 2 days away when this airs on Sunday the 29th. So what are you looking forward to this season?
Well, we have complaints already of some road hunting, people trying to get out there early, and I look forward to working in the evenings, late at night, looking for the road hunters and deer jackers. That's why I love the job.
So, road hunting, it's obviously illegal, and how brazen are road hunters?
Well, it cycles a little bit, but when I first came into the county for Rensselaer County, back in the early 2000s, just to ride around with loaded guns, it was a common occurrence. And once you start checking and word gets out that they're getting arrested, then they try to be a little sneakier and less obvious. So, but road hunting still exists today. Every year I get cases of road hunting turkey, deer, even fur bears at night, driving around and shooting from vehicles from the road.
So you have a big connection with this Capital District Sportsman's page on Facebook. Take us through how that came to fruition.
Well, after this past hunting season, in January, that's the couple months I'm burned. I burn out after hunting season. I work so many hours at night, and so I was just thinking about the type of things that I experience. And people always ask what I do for my job, and I said maybe I can share it a little bit, kind of some transparency, and little education came to mind afterwards, and connect with the sportsmen and women around the area. And through my career, I found, obviously that's one of our best tools, assets is networking. Mm-hmm. Hand out my business cards. I went and purchased my own, made them special, so they were a little more attractive. And so between that and education, and since January, it's taken right off.
Yeah, what's nice to see on the Facebook page, and Brian Cole and I were talking, is that we see how much more you do than just,
like enforcement.
Wildlife rescue.
Right.
Yeah.
Take us through some of the rescues you've done.
And that's, seasonal stuff. And that's a great thing about our job. It changes seasonally. So after hunting season, we go into, say, snowmobiling, ice fishing, some small game trapping, and then we come into spring with spring fishing, fish stocking, and that's when all the babies are being born. So I know every year you get the little skunks wandering down 4th Street in Troy in a single file, abandoned raccoons, injured hawks, owls, and all sorts of animals. So it's nice I can share that, and people can see different things that we do. There are some things I can't share. They're a little over the top, maybe too graphic, but so when I kept that in mind when I first started the site, because the page, I want it to be nice and friendly and informative. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's great to see the animal rescues, and then when you're releasing owls back into the habitat, you make sure you let everybody know.
Yeah,
and that's a great thing about social media.
Yeah.
Back in the day when forums first started, people didn't have an identity, and forums were real messy, where people didn't have a consequence. And it seems now with Facebook, there's an identity attached to them.
It's a little bit better.
It's a little bit better, and for the most part, people are pretty good on the site.
Yeah, I think it's because we're all in the same area. A lot of us know each other, friends of, and not just some smart aleck in California. He can say whatever he wants without consequence. And I think just having good sportsmen and women, their attitude is professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you mentioned education as being a facet of that, and I think that's kind of what, to some degree, kind of influenced us to want to do something like this, is to have just another avenue to reach out to sportsmen and women, and just maybe have kind of be a conduit to the outdoors.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Hunting and fishing and
yeah.
And
just as you had mentioned before, in conversation you and I had, like marriage of groups, we all have the same goal: promoting the outdoors, getting the youth involved, and with the social media,
Yeah.
it helps us connect with one another, and we end up having a lot of the same people and coordination together.
So with some of the stuff of your job coming into hunting season, and what are the most common citations that?
Well, complaints and citations, tickets. One of the bigger ones would be hunter trespass, and like when you have your hunter safety courses, that's a big thing, a topic, and understanding where you can hunt and how to go about getting permission. And property owners are constantly calling us throughout the season, dealing with people trespassing, whether it's big game deer or maybe coyote hunters. And that's always a hot topic. One that, as far as I deal with in the county, and one of my, I don't like people baiting. If you're feeding deer, we know chronic wasting disease is a concern, and you're not supposed to feed, but we really don't enforce that. But when you're using bait to help hunting, your better chances of taking a deer, that's when I investigate and get involved. You know.
Yes. Now, are there any cases of CWD in New York yet?
We had years ago out west. It was a game farm, but not in the wild. No.
Okay.
No.
And that's also why anything that's brought into the state has to be fully cleaned from
Deboned.
Yeah. And then if a head's coming in, it's got to be clear of the brain
Clean,
matter.
correct.
Yeah, clean.
Yep.
So take us through. You attend a lot of hunter ed classes. Take us through why you're such a force at these classes, where you're traveling to.
Such a force.
Well, you do come in with some authority.
Oh, I think just the attire we wear does it. And
tend to sit up a little straighter in the chair.
And we have fun. And I think over the years, and we always come in, our introduction is, hey, we're a resource. Don't look at me as someone just looking to arrest you and try to hurt you. I'm a resource. I want you to call me. When you see me, I want you to not be scared.
Yeah.
Say, hey, how you doing? Come on over. Nice to see you, and learn. And if you have any questions, feel free to call us. As you can see, all our cell phone numbers are in the game guide. And, call us up if you're concerned. And people make mistakes. If you make a mistake, call us up. Hey, I didn't mean, but I forgot my tag. I shot a deer. We're human beings. We're reasonable. I think that's, but we enjoy coming and showing that side of us, and plus explaining the laws, what you should look to do when you do go hunting, what we expect. And some people you take for granted, you think they know the laws, but they may not. So we try to cover all that stuff, and when we come for the courses,
in May, I was up camping at Rogers Rock, and by our campsite walked a little girl with a largemouth, and the father was ahead of her. And I called him over. I said, the law's on those right now. You weren't supposed to keep that.
Yeah.
And he, obviously, the kid bought it. They had a fishing rod for the kid, and he was, what do I do? And I said, well, you can search NCON, and you can call him and let him know. And I don't know if that's the route he took, but that was the advice that we always want to give everybody to, especially if a kid comes home with the fish that they weren't, they need to know the rules too. But
well, that's and the point. That's a great point. Is we have a lot of discretion. We understand there's a letter of the law. What is the intention of the law? And then there's some gray area, and then some discretion. And in a case like that, you see the excitement. You don't want to discourage somebody from hunting and fishing and have a negative experience. So you look at maybe their culpable mental state. Did they intentionally, knowingly, why did they do it? So we take factors into account. And, we have tickets, and we even have written warnings, verbal warnings. But what's the most important part? When I write somebody a ticket, somebody who shoots from the road, is education. I explain to them when they leave. Okay, people have to understand why they may be getting a ticket or a warning, and educate. And that's part of the website. I'm going to be honest. I know there's people on there that I've ticketed before. I know there's people on there that I've arrested before, and I've had officers and people say to me, "Hey, so-and-so, why you let him on there?" Or whoever. And I say to them, listen, this isn't the good boys club. Okay, education, maybe it's a deterrency, but it's also, if I can turn somebody from being a legal hunter or poacher into a good sportsman, and it's not just me, it's you guys, and it's all the other members on there, the stuff they post, and they start seeing the light. And if we can turn somebody to be a good sportsman, then it's worth it. So that's part of our job, and I think part of this Facebook page as well.
And I think that's part of the hunting. You start out where you're just going out to get something, and then as a hunter you grow to, Or then you go transition into you want to fill your tags.
Yeah.
And then you transition to that true sportsman where, okay, I'm going to harvest the doe for the freezer, and now I'm not going to shoot that 6-point or that 4-point. I'm waiting for something because I want to, and that's a progression. I felt that progression in the last 4 years.
Yeah, someone new to hunting is not going to be looking at the big picture of how to have the healthiest deer herd in your area, or what impact you have on the resource, right? You're looking at just success usually, just
at what stage are they in their hunting career and experience. It's like a child you bring fishing. What do you say? We just want action. We don't care if they get a 4-inch bluegill.
Right.
Okay, they're not looking to get a 6-pound bass. Just that action, the excitement, and we have to keep that in mind, especially with the youth or new hunters. Okay, those experiences they haven't had yet, so let them enjoy the moment.
So we have the progression of the hunter, and not to QDMA has its pros and cons, but as I'm taking my 12-year-old into the stand on Tuesday, and I'm really hoping a doe comes by, so that she's gonna have just as much excitement with that deer as she would with anything, and to get practice and get comfortable with deer underneath her. Take us through what you think the challenge is as getting hunters to move to that level of sportsmanship.
Well, you mentioned, I know that's a topic, people discuss QDMA, and they have some, a place for that and great points. But as you said, people in their hunting career, where they're at. Are they beginners? Is it a youth, teenager? And I think we're focusing too much on what they're shooting and not the whole concept of what's around it. Scouting, sitting in the stand, the smell, the environment, soaking the experience up. And you have to look at the big picture. And too many people get transfixed on just what are they shooting? Does it have antlers big enough? Okay, it has its place. Yes, it does. But we have to be a little more versatile and with depending on who's hunting. Okay.
But there's different aspects of QDMA too. A lot of people associate QDMA with big antlers, big bucks. And
no,
it's really
game
the
management.
Overall herd,
right.
Health of the herd.
Right, and exactly. And the QDMs have their chapters locally, and let them help manage their own because it's different. Depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
And it's definitely has its place. Definitely.
And as we move through this, I made mention to that bow hunting is my primary thing. I was going to try to do recurve, but didn't have enough practice. And then that ties into ethics, is that we want to have enough practice with whatever implement we're using and whatever we are harvesting. The goal is to do it, humanely and ethically as possible, and that's through practice.
Yeah. Now, didn't you say you did bow too? You picked up bow recently on the last
podcast?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm new to hunting. I started hunting. This will be my 4th season. I started with bow though. I mean, it's just there's more opportunity.
Seasonally.
The season's longer.
Yeah. Less competition.
Less
in
competition.
Early season.
I mean, I was telling Adam not too long ago. Like, I really once about 2-3 days before a rifle. Like most people are like excited first day of opening season gun. I'm actually kind of like, opposite. I'm actually like, I'll still go. I'm not against hunting with the rifle, but the woods change. Everybody's out there.
It's more of a challenge, and like Adam said, it's more sportsmanship of a hunt. You have to hunt and put your time in.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's more of a fair chase, to the deer, and it's definitely more rewarding. I know guys, they will only hunt with a recurve now. They went from rifle over the years to compound, and now they'll just do recurve. The most challenging because it's the most gratifying, rewarding outcome.
Right.
Harvesting a nice animal.
Yeah. And I'm mentoring a biology teacher this year. He's excited to take this challenge, and he's practicing and getting ready. And the last thing I want to do is tell him what deer he can shoot, because this is going to be his first. He's 25. This is his first time. Yeah. He was on the podcast Sunday, and so that's exciting. As we see these people coming in to the sport and making that transition, and hopefully they progress through, because they have to progress through.
But we have too many restrictions. You have our laws, and then you have, the ethics part of it, and then you may have other restrictions with, certain areas that could discourage someone. So we have to find a good balance.
That's why I like, as far as the antler restriction, I like just the education, like to let them go, let them grow.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing, and letting people know and make their decision, on what they want to do as a property owner and as a hunter.
That's our rights.
Yeah,
That's our right.
Well, you mentioned quickly. You mentioned some restrictions, and as someone who's relatively new to hunting, I would say probably, my understanding when you were saying restrictions and listing all those out, it's kind of like determined, like things that would kind of deter people from hunting,
Exactly.
make it harder to be successful. One of the biggest things, as someone who's kind of new to hunting, and one of the things that kept me from getting into it until later in life was access.
Okay.
Like where do I hunt? Especially as someone who moved to the area. I didn't grow up here. I don't have like those kind of family roots or
Yeah.
But you had mentioned, access in Rensselaer County. You had threw some numbers out there to us before the
Yeah, I had
podcast.
looked at some numbers before I came in. I know Rensselaer County alone, we have about 20,000 acres, which includes easements. You have Pittstown Forest, Tibbetts State Forest, Berlin State Forest, Cherry Plains, Skodak, Grafton. We have a lot of properties. You have the state parks, and then the WMAs outside of there. And
So you mentioned easements. What's an easement? Is that just
it's like-
just access to an area?
it
or
may
is
be
that-
somebody else's property, but they've signed with the department. Like we have fishing easements. People can hunt and access our property. We have an easement assigned, for hunting or fishing purposes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a good point you bring up. People, we go through all this, buy our license and take the course. Where are we going to go?
Right. Yeah.
And everybody, when you hear people say, well, all the properties are posted. Nobody wants you on their property. Well, there's plenty of state land, to hunt. Okay, plenty of state land to hunt around the Capital District. If I recall, just in Region 4, which encompasses Albany, Schenectady, the Capital District, and surrounding, we have about 292 plus, almost 293,000 acres.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
That's 'cause,
There's your access.
there you go.
There's plenty. Well, that's what I'm learning now as I'm getting out there.
And maybe that's part of the hunter safety, when we come, or the instructors, because that's always a question, concern. Is, hey, here's a list of properties, whatever county you live in, and I'll probably post something on the Facebook page. Here's all the state lands, and you have plenty of access.
Yeah.
And then the hunting ed classes that you attend, what do those mixes look like as far as young versus old? And
The DEC Hunter Ed started back in 1949. Okay, so we have a lot of years of experience here. I believe about 50,000 students take the class a year in the state.
really?
It's down a little bit since the 60s, obviously, but it's still a fairly significant number. As far as the courses over the years, it was the, diversity was a concern. Over these past several years, our wildlife staff, hunter education instructors, we've seen a really good mix of diversity in the courses now, because that was a concern. Death of different people, backgrounds, ethnicities, and women, children, older people, young people. It's a really good mix now.
Good.
Yes.
And then, so your goals for Rensselaer County, what do you want to see the sportsman kind of do to support your goals as an officer, environmentalist?
I think, as an officer, through education and some transparency, we want to preserve the sport by getting youth involved. And I'd like to see some other groups, your group, this group, the Facebook page, the Rensselaer County Coalition, kind of get on the same page and work together to promote events and get the youth involved. As an officer, obviously I enforce the laws. On one side, I preservation, conservation, preserving the resource while enforcing the laws, but also I want to encourage the sport, okay? Because we know hunting and fishing has its place for population management, because certain areas there's a carrying capacity. We want to avoid, we have disease, starvation, so yeah, hunting and harvesting is important, but obviously we want it done right for fair chase, legally, safely, and ethically. And
so your training, they often talk, is very similar to state police as an ECO. And how does yours differ from the state police training when you...
Well, I haven't taken both, thankfully, but from my understanding, we have a 6.5-month academy. You report Sunday evening and you leave Friday afternoon back to and then have to report back Sunday evening. We focus more obviously on the fish and wildlife, the conservation law and the 6 NYCRR, which are code rules and amendment regulations of the conservation law. And probably a little more on off-road enforcement.
Okay. And there's a pretty popular show we were talking about, Northwood's Law.
Yes.
So if they had a New York edition here, can you give us your best story?
There's plenty of them, from decoy shooters to you name it. As far as hunting related stuff, I watch that show and I sit there and I'm like, I do that, and I'm like, ask. I know the question he's going to ask. I know when he splits them up, what he's, I can relate. I've seen it. I've seen it. I had one case where someone had called me and said a truck pulled up about 11:30 at night in the field right across from his house and shot a couple deer and threw them in the truck and took off. So I went to there. He had a description of the vehicle, and I circled around probably a good hour. And then I look down this driveway and I see the truck that matched the description. So as I pull in, it had been raining and the driveway, the puddles were just red from blood. So I'm like, I think I'm at the right place, or else there's a homicide. Something's not looking good here. The truck door was open. There was beer cans, open beer, a loaded 22 Magnum, spotlights. So at this point, I think I have the right house. The back of the truck was just covered in blood. And I look in the garage, and there had to have been, I think there was 4 gut piles. I turn and look up in the window of the house, and I could see a gun safe right through the window. And all of a sudden, all the lights went off. I said, they know I'm here. So I called a local trooper in the area. There was a 2-man unit, and I said, I need some backup. So I was knocking on the window of the living room, and I could see 2 people pretending they're sleeping. They have their work boots on, and there was a Rottweiler looking out the window right at me. So we made our way into the house, and so in conversation with the 2 in the living room, they were playing, we don't know what you're talking about. So I walked around the corner of the kitchen. They had a table just piled full of venison. Ugh. They had a commercial bandsaw. They had a police scanner, a meat grinder. And then I looked in the bathroom, and there was 2 deer sitting in the tub, which was full of water. I don't know, they're marinate or something. I don't know. I'm pretending I know what's going on here. So had the one trooper watch these two in the living room. And I said, let's go upstairs. So there's another, one of the suspects is in the bed, pretending he's sleeping. Next to the bed is a bloody ball bean hammer. I never knew where that came into play. Maybe a meat tenderizer? I don't know. And bloody shoes. Get up. So he gets up. I go, okay, I know there's more people here. Yes. And he's like, yeah. I look under the bed. There's another suspect under the bed. Blood all over his jeans. So I send them downstairs, and I asked them, listen, there's any more? And they yes, there's one more of us. Where? I think he's in the basement. So I take the one trooper with me. We go down the basement. Cold, wet, damp, dirt floor, no electricity. So I have my flashlight. He's behind me, and I'm announcing myself, police, come out, police, come out. No answer. So we make our way to the far end, and there's a old door, and it's closed. I said, okay, this possibility here. So tactically, we open the door, quick peek, and I look behind it, shut the door. I turn around and look at the trooper, and he's like, what? I go, watch this. We open the door back up, and I point. And as all you see is the tips of sneakers, this last suspect was standing between the studs in the wall, holding insulation in front of him, and as all you could see was the tips of his sneakers sticking out. And I quote myself, I said, slowly lower the R23. You have a .40 caliber pointing at you. And sure enough, it lowered, and you see his face, and yeah. And that's,
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Now, most of them men that are committing these.
Yeah. Yes.
So women haven't caught on yet.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
can imagine some of the stuff you hear too, some of the excuses or things that people say. I can.
Yeah, I mean, generally, as far as my experience in the years I've been doing it, when people are out shooting at night, deer jacking, it's for antlers, for bucks, not to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, they have expensive guns and nice vehicles. They're trophy hunters. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many advantages you can have these days. I mean, I have a cellular trail camera, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, this is gonna be the first season hunting with it, and I'm sitting in school today, and I'm getting like notifications,
Yeah.
and I don't know how I feel.
Takes a little bit of that.
It does. It takes feet off the pavement, or off the trail, out of the woods, and I'm getting. I mean, I put the camera there, but I'm not sure how I feel about it now. 10-pointer comes by, maybe I'll feel differently.
Yeah.
But right now, it's I'm watching it. I don't know if I'm going to buy another one.
Yeah.
Because part of it is I'm not out there in the woods to just harvest a deer.
Well, you see a lot going back and forth to those cameras sometimes,
Yeah,
Right.
what do we consider, once again, fair chase to the animal? When you have them on video watching them constantly, are you really,
Right.
how hard is your hunt?
Right. So that's something I'm kind of tooling with right now is, I bought the camera. It's pretty nice. The camera did get twisted, so something bumped into it. And, we'll see. We'll see how I feel after. I mean, it's well within the law. But it's a different, trail cameras have their benefit.
Yeah.
I know some states out west, you have to pull them before the season starts. And I mean, with this technology, is a question. Drones. Does New York State have any rules on drones and hunting that you know of?
No, I think it's more airspace violation, as far as, but hunting, game with drones, it's not in our books,
But then it ties into the. I mean, it'd be one thing for tracking a deer, maybe. I know some people have used it to find deer after they've shot them.
Yeah.
To help find them in the field or look that way. But it's interesting conversation
Well,
to
I know
have.
there are states out there that have
already
passed legislation already. They're kind of gotten ahead of the game there.
I think Alaska did.
Yeah.
Alaska has the rule where you can't hunt on the day you fly.
Yeah.
So you have to wait 24 hours after you fly to hunt. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Brian, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, I just encourage people to call your local conservation officer if you have any questions, concerns. You want to know possible state land you can hunt. You're not sure about something, call us up, and we'll be glad to help. And don't be afraid to say hi when you see us out. We're not the bad guys, and we don't think you are either.
Brian Cole, you have anything?
No, I just want to thank you for coming in, taking the time. I know you're busy.
Yeah.
You're ramping up for a busy part of the year, and I just appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Well, then maybe meet up. I'm thinking I talked to you about the outdoor show.
Yes.
That PJ Hyde and Hoosick Falls School District I've been involved with. I helped him start it years ago. Mm-hmm. But we're looking to do that again. Maybe we can do a podcast and you can cover that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to be
I
part
think
of that.
they're maybe looking at February, March, but I'll let you know when we nail down a date.
All right, that'd be exciting. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and be safe this year. All you guys out there hunting, make sure you're wearing your safety orange when you're gun hunting, and if you're in a tree stand, wear a safety harness.
Yeah, definitely.
And be safe. Have a good season. Good luck, and we'll see you back here. We're going to be going out every 2 weeks now, just because deer season's on. And please tune in. Hit the like, subscribe, and as always, you can find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Podcast Addict now. Oh, and Spotify.